At just 21, Tund Okoro was a cleaner at Brightcore Industries, a boy everyone looked down on, laughed at, and talked about behind his back. But one day, something happened that would turn his shame into success. What secret did this poor orphan hold that would later make him the CEO of the very company that once rejected him? The scorching sun beat down on the tall glass building as Tund scrubbed the marble floor in the main lobby. The scent of disinfectant mixed with his sweat. His faded uniform clung to his back. Executives in shiny shoes walked past him like he was invisible, or worse, like he was dirt on the floor he cleaned. "Hey, cleaner boy," one guard shouted from across the hall. "You missed a spot. You think this is your father's company?" The workers nearby snickered. Tund tightened his jaw. "Yes, sir," he muttered, scrubbing harder even though the spot was already spotless. A group of interns in crisp white shirts passed by, whispering loud enough for him to hear. "Look at him," one said, smirking. "Didn't he apply here last year? Got rejected. Now he's back as a cleaner. Pathetic." Laughter echoed. It hit Tund like stones. He gripped the mop so tightly his knuckles turned white. His heart pounded. His eyes burned, but he refused to cry. "I'll show them," he whispered under his breath. "One day, they'll know my name." Then came the cruelest blow. The HR manager, Mrs. Benson, a woman with sharp glasses and a sharper tongue, walked by. "You again, Tund," she snapped. "If you spent half the effort cleaning your life that you do cleaning these floors, maybe you wouldn't be stuck here. Move faster." Her words sliced him open. He tried to speak, but his voice cracked. I'm just." "Don't talk back," she barked. "Do your job." The lobby fell silent. Everyone stared. Tund's hands trembled. The mop slipped and clattered against the floor. Someone laughed. He felt small, so small he wished the ground would swallow him. Just then, two young men hurried over. "Hey, leave him alone," said Cunnel, one of his closest friends, a fellow janitor. "Yeah," added Emeka, his other friend, eyes blazing. "He's doing his best. You people act like cleaning's a crime." Mrs. Benson rolled her eyes and walked off, heels clicking hard against the tiles. Tund looked up, voice shaking. "You guys shouldn't get in trouble for me." Cunnel smiled sadly. "We're already in trouble, my brother. Trouble just wears a uniform here." Emeka chuckled, nudging him. "Come on, Mun. Wipe your sweat. Don't give these people the satisfaction of seeing you break." Their kindness hit harder than the mockery. For the first time that day, Tund managed a weak smile. He straightened, gripping his mop like a sword. The air around him still burned, but something inside him had shifted. And dear viewers, this is how the story of Tund Okoro began. Before the world called him the cleaner, Tund Okoro was a dreamer. Just a few years earlier, he had been the pride of his small town, bright, humble, and determined to become an engineer. His mother, Mama Okoro, used to say, "Tund, your hands may be small now, but they will build something great one day." Those words used to light up his heart. At 19, Tund was in his final year at the Polytechnic. He was sharp, always leading group projects, tutoring classmates, and fixing old radios in his mother's small shop. He had a big plan: to graduate, get a job at Brightcore Industries, and lift his mother out of poverty. But fate had other plans. One stormy night, everything changed. His mother fell sick, so suddenly, so cruelly, that the local clinic couldn't help. Tund held her frail hand, whispering, "Mama, please stay with me." She smiled weakly, her breath shallow. "Be strong, my son. Don't let this world break you." And then, silence. At just 19, Tund was left alone in the world. No father, no mother, nobody to hold him when the nights were cold. He buried her himself. The rain poured that day like the heavens were mourning with him. The next morning, the landlord came knocking. "Your mother owed 3 months' rent," he barked. "You have 1 week, or you're out." Tund tried to plead, voice trembling. "Sir, please, I'll find work, I swear." "No excuses." 1 week, the Mun shouted and slammed the door. Desperate, Tund turned to his childhood friend, Samuel, who had promised to help him get an internship at Brightcore. Samuel was already working there as a junior staff. "Please, bro," Tund begged. "I just need a chance to prove myself." Samuel nodded. "I'll handle it, trust me. Just prepare your documents." 4 days, Tund lived on hope and dry bread. He studied late into the night, rehearsing interview answers. But the hope that kept him alive was shattered when he arrived at Brightcore for his interview. Samuel wouldn't even look him in the eye. "Mun, I tried," he mumbled. "They said your grades aren't high enough. I can't do anything." Tun's voice cracked. You promised me, Samuel. You said. "I'm sorry, okay? I've got my own problems." Samuel snapped, walking away. Weeks later, a letter arrived, stamped with the Brightcore logo. "Dear Mr. Okoro, we regret to inform you that your application has been unsuccessful." He stood in the doorway of his mother's shop, clutching the letter to his chest. "No, no, no, no," he shouted, falling to his knees. Tears mixed with dust on his face. That night, as he sat by the flickering candlelight, he made a vow. "I'll work harder than anyone. I'll rise, even if the world hates me." His voice was steady now, no longer the cry of a boy, but the promise of a man determined to fight back. And dear viewers, this was the night the fire inside Tund Okoro was born. In the days after his mother's funeral, Tund Okoro felt like a ghost walking through life. The house was quiet, his mother's chair empty, her laughter gone. He had nothing, no money, no family, just memories and a bag of clothes. That was when Uncle Fatai appeared. At first, Uncle Fatai seemed like a blessing. He was his mother's distant cousin, a man who spoke with authority and always smelled of cologne and cigar smoke. He showed up at the burial with crisp clothes and a fake smile. "My boy," he said, patting Tun's shoulder, "you don't have to suffer alone. Come stay with me. Your family." Tun's eyes welled up. "Thank you, sir. I don't know what else to do." "Shoo," Uncle Fatai hushed him. "It's for your own good. You'll be safe." At first, it seemed true. For a few weeks, Tun stayed at Fatai's big house in the city. He swept the floor, washed the man's car, and ate leftover meals from his table. But then one night, as they sat on the porch, Fatai's real intentions began to show. "Tund," he said, voice calm but cold, "your mother's land back in the village, that land should not be left in your name. You're too young. It's better I manage it for you." Tund blinked. "Sir, my mother told me that land was for my future," she said. "Boy." Fatai's tone hardened. "Do you know anything about managing land? I'm trying to protect you. Think of tradition." Tund hesitated, his hands shaking slightly. But it's my mother's wish. I can't just." Fatai's voice rose, sharp like a whip. "You think you're smarter than your elders? You ungrateful brat." The next morning, Tund found his bag tossed outside. "Since you're grown enough to argue," Fatai shouted from the doorway, "then you're grown enough to fend for yourself. Get out of my house." Tund's chest tightened. "Uncle, please, I have nowhere to go." "Out," Fatai barked. "Or I'll call the police and tell them you stole from me." Tund stood frozen for a moment, tears burning his eyes. He picked up his bag and walked away, his heart breaking with each step. But Uncle Fatai wasn't done. A week later, he returned to the village, with community elders and 2 policemen. He stood in front of the small crowd, shouting, "This boy is disrespecting tradition. His late mother gave him land, but custom demands elders take care of it." Murmurs spread. "Ah, Fatai is right," someone said. "The boy is too young." Others whispered, "But he's her only son." Tund stepped outside, his clothes dusty but his spirit burning. His eyes were red, but his voice did not shake. "These are my mother's lands," he said firmly. "I will not give them to anyone." Fatai's face twisted in rage. "You'll regret this, boy. I'll make sure you have nothing." Tund's heart pounded, but he stood tall. "I already have nothing," he shouted back, "so there's nothing more you can take." The crowd fell silent. The wind blew through the trees like a warning. And dear viewers, that day marked the beginning of Tund Okoro's battle against betrayal, a battle that would shape the man he would become. 2 months after Uncle Fatai's public humiliation, Tund Okoro was hanging on by a thread. He'd been sleeping in a wooden shed behind the market, doing odd jobs just to eat. But one morning, his world came crashing down again. "Tund," shouted Cunnel, running toward him. "The landlord's giving away your mother's house. They say you didn't pay the taxes." Tund froze, the broom dropping from his hand. "What? That's not possible. I paid some last month." Cunnel shook his head, panting. "They're auctioning it tomorrow morning. You need 30,000 naira or it's gone." 30,000. To Tund, that was a mountain. He had only 200 in his pocket. His chest tightened. 30,000, he whispered. Where am I supposed to get that? That day, he went door to door through the village, pleading with anyone who would listen. Please, Mama Kuti, he begged an old woman. Just a small loan. I'll pay it back, I swear. She sighed. Tund, I'm sorry. Times are hard. He knocked on another door. Good afternoon, sir, I just… Ah, not you again. The man cut him off. You never bring good news. Go find someone else. Door after door slammed shut in his face. Some gave him a few coins, others gave him only pity. As dusk fell, Tund sat by the roadside, head buried in his hands. His stomach growled, but hunger was the least of his pains. He was about to lose the last thing his mother left him. Then, like a shadow rising from the past, Uncle Fatai appeared. His voice oozed false kindness. Tund, you look tired, he said, adjusting his gold wristwatch. Still fighting for what isn't yours? Tund looked up, weary but alert. What do you want? Fatai smiled slyly. I can give you the 30,000, right here, right now. Tund's heart skipped. You can. Fatai nodded, pulling out a brown envelope. But, he said, waving it slowly, you'll sign over your mother's land to me. One signature. Problem solved. Tund stood, fists trembling. You're a devil. Fatai chuckled. Choose, boy. The land or your mother's house. If you don't decide, you lose both. The words cut deep. Tund's knees buckled. He fell to the ground, clutching the soil. His voice cracked. I can't give it away. Not her land. Not while I still breathe. Fatai leaned closer, whispering coldly, then watch everything burn. He turned and walked away, laughing. Just when despair was about to drown him, something unexpected happened. Kunnal and Emika showed up with a group of neighbors, old women, market sellers, even kids. We heard what's happening, Kunnal said. Everybody's giving what they can. A woman dropped 50 naira in Tund's hand. A child added a handful of coins. Bit by bit, they filled a small bag, enough to pay the taxes. Tund's eyes filled with tears. He looked up at the crowd, voice trembling but strong. I will not lose my mother's legacy, not while I still breathe. The villagers cheered. The land, and his dignity, were saved. And dear viewers, this was the moment Tund Okoro learned that strength isn't in wealth, but in the hearts that refuse to give up. Tund is sweeping the market path before dawn, the heat already pressing down like a weight. Smoke from the food stalls mixes with the sharp tang of citrus and diesel. People shout prices, children run with bare feet, and somewhere a radio blares an old love song. He smells frying oil and the dust of 1,000 footprints. This is the route he walks every morning. Today, a shiny black SUV bumps past, stirring pigeons into the air. A woman steps out, tall and confident, her voice carrying as she points to a new compound down the road. We'll restore this place, she says, unrolling a brochure. I want decent homes, jobs, a school. This community deserves it. Her daughter laughs. The mun beside her claps, impressed. That's Mrs. Angela Lawson, a returnee entrepreneur everyone in the village has been whispering about. They stroll through the market, shaking hands, speaking of plans. The sun gets hotter and people crowd around. In the commotion, a leather wallet slips from Angela's bag without anyone noticing. It falls behind a stall and slides under a stack of crates. Tund notices the leather first, out of place against the mud and boxes. He crouches, fingernails black with grime, and pulls it free. The wallet is heavy. He opens it with a thumb that trembles and sees passports, neatly folded international bills, and a company check with a number that makes his mouth go dry. $3,000. His heart thuds like a drum. All of this could pay the taxes, the rent, feed the kids for months, he whispers, and the words taste like temptation. He imagines the 30,000 naira he almost lost everything for. He pictures the landlord's face, the wooden shed where he sleeps, his mother's empty chair. Tund, he tells himself, voice small. This could change everything. But then he thinks of his mother's voice. Build, Tund. Build with clean hands. The memory is a bright, painful thing. He tucks a stray curl behind his ear and clenches the wallet. He heads toward Kunnal first. Kunnal is arranging tomatoes at his stall, sweat on his brow. When Tund shows him the wallet, Kunnal's eyes widen. Men, whoa, this is a fortune. Tund, maybe this is God's way, he says, hopeful and blunt. You could, he stops, noticing Tund's face. Emika arrives, wiping his hands on his trousers. He studies the contents, then looks at Tund. If you keep it, you risk everything, Emeka says slowly. What if they say you stole it? You'd lose your name. You'd lose the chance to build for good. His voice is steady but fierce. Whatever you choose, I'll support you, he adds, but there is steel in his words. Tun paces, the wallet heavy in his palm. Voices from the market rise, a hawker selling plantain, children calling, someone laughing. The temptation is real, sharp as a blade. His throat tightens, he finds himself stammering. I could take just a little, pay the tax, and, he stops, ashamed at the sound of his own voice. Cunnel presses a hand on his shoulder. Think, brother. Think of Mama. Emeka's jaw is set. Your name is all you have. Tun breathes in the hot, crowded air. He folds the wallet closed and, with hands steady now, says, I will take my time and think carefully. His voice is quiet but resolute. And dear viewers, here stood Tund at a crossroads, not yet sure what the right path was, but determined not to rush into wrong. The night after finding the wallet, Tundokoro barely slept. The fan in the market shed clanked weakly above his head, but his mind wouldn't stop spinning. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the wallet again, the neat foreign bills, the golden initials AL embossed on the leather. He sat up suddenly, voice low but firm. No amount of money is worth my peace, he whispered to himself. Mama didn't raise a thief. By sunrise, his decision was made. He tied his old sandals, washed his face at the public tap, and tucked the wallet safely into his shirt. As he stepped out, Cunnel called after him. Are you sure, brother? That woman might not even thank you. Tun smiled weakly. I don't need thanks. I just need to do what's right. He walked through the dusty streets, past the market stalls and small houses, carrying not just the wallet but the weight of his own pride. The air shimmered with heat. Sweat ran down his temples. He rehearsed in his mind what he would say. Ma, please, I found this by the market. But his voice trembled each time he tried. Finally, he reached the big compound on the hill, Mrs. Angela Lawson's house. It stood tall and white, the kind of house that looked like it didn't belong to the same world as his. A security guard eyed him suspiciously. Who are you looking for? The man barked. I'm here to return something, Tun stammered, pulling out the wallet carefully. Please, it belongs to Mrs. Lawson. The guard looked confused but let him through. As Tund approached the driveway, he froze. The shiny black SUV from yesterday was rolling out of the gate. He caught a glimpse of Angela through the tinted window, waving goodbye to someone inside. No, please, he called out, running a few steps, waving his hand. Ma'am. Wait. The car didn't stop. It sped down the hill, leaving a trail of dust behind. Tun's heart sank. Did I come too late? He murmured, clutching the wallet to his chest. A woman's voice called from the porch. Young man, can I help you? He turned and saw Mama Rose, Angela's elderly mother, sitting in a wicker chair. Her kind eyes studied his sweat-streaked face. Ma, Tun said softly, stepping closer. Your daughter dropped this yesterday, near the market. He stretched out the wallet with both hands. Everything is still inside. Please, just make sure she gets it. Mama Rose blinked, surprised. You found this? Yes, Ma. I didn't touch anything. I only wanted her to have it back. He turned to leave before she could respond. Wait, young man. At least tell me your name. He paused, glanced back, and smiled faintly. Tund, Ma. My name's Tund. Then he walked away, sandals slapping against the hot pavement. Inside the house, Mama Rose opened the wallet and gasped. It was full, untouched. She hurried to her daughter's room, but Angela was gone. Meanwhile, on the road, Angela Lawson suddenly yelled to her driver, Stop the car! Her eyes darted around as she rummaged through her handbag. My wallet! My God, my wallet's gone. Her assistant turned pale. Ma'am, are you sure? Yes. The checks, the documents, my passport, everything is in there. If I don't get those papers today, the investors will pull out of the housing project. Her voice cracked with panic. Turn around now. They sped back home. Angela burst through the gate, breathless. Mama, I lost my... Before she could finish, Mama Rose held up the wallet. Is this what you're looking for? Angela froze. Her lips parted. Where did you find it? Not me, her mother said, smiling softly. A young man brought it. Said he found it on the road and returned it untouched. Angela blinked. What's his name? Tund. Poor boy. People say he's an orphan, a cleaner. They mock him for dreaming too big. Angela clutched the wallet to her chest, eyes glistening. The same boy everyone despises has the greatest heart. She let out a shaky breath. Mama, tomorrow, I must find him. I need to see him myself. And dear viewers, that was the night fate quietly shifted, when the forgotten cleaner's honesty began to rewrite his destiny. The sun was barely up when Tundo Koro heard the rumble of an engine outside his shack. He blinked, thinking maybe it was one of the market trucks again. But this wasn't any regular truck. The sound was deep, smooth, expensive. He stepped outside, rubbing his eyes. Parked right in front of his little wooden house was a black Range Rover, gleaming like liquid glass. His neighbors peeked from their doors, whispering. Tund, called Cunnel, half joking, half worried. You sure you're not in trouble? Tund froze when the back door opened. Out stepped Angela Lawson, dressed in a simple white blouse and jeans, her confidence glowing even in the morning light. Her driver quickly moved aside as she walked toward Tund's small porch. He stammered, Ma'am? What are you doing here? Angela smiled gently. You must be Tundo Koro. Yes, Ma, that's me. She nodded, eyes soft but serious. You returned something yesterday that meant more than money to me. Those papers you saved, they helped me secure a multi-million-dollar contract this morning. Tund's jaw dropped. What? I just wanted to do the right thing. Angela stepped closer, voice trembling slightly. I know you did. That's exactly why I'm here. She paused, her tone thick with emotion. You remind me so much of my son. He would have been about your age now. The words hit Tund's chest like a soft hammer. He swallowed hard, unsure what to say. Angela reached into her purse and pulled out a brown envelope. This isn't a reward, she said quickly, handing it to him. Think of it as a seed. Inside is enough money to get started on something, anything, you want to build. But promise me this, she looked him straight in the eye. Promise you'll think about what you want to do with your life. Tund hesitated. His hands shook as he took the envelope. I promise, ma'am. Angela smiled warmly. When you've decided, come to my office. I'll help you make it real. As the Range Rover drove off, the crowd outside began whispering louder. Cunnel ran up, wide-eyed. Tund, who was that woman? What did she give you? Tund just stared at the envelope, still dazed. A chance, he muttered softly. She gave me a chance. That evening, his friends Cunnel, Mama Chica, and Beezy gathered around his wooden table. The envelope sat in the middle like sacred treasure. Open it, mun. Cunnel urged, slapping his shoulder. Tund finally did. His eyes widened, neat stacks of notes. This is too much, he whispered. Beezy leaned in. So, what are you gonna do with it? They began to brainstorm. Mama Chica suggested selling second-hand clothes. Cunnel pushed for a phone accessories shop. But Beezy shook her head. Listen, you already know how to raise chickens. Remember your uncle's small poultry back home? Tund frowned thoughtfully. Yeah, but that was years ago. Still, Beezy continued, a cousin of mine runs a poultry now. She started with 50 birds. Each chicken sells for about 8,000 naira, and in 3 months, she earns close to 400,000 after feed and care. You've got that empty land behind your shed, don't you? Tund nodded slowly. It's not much, but it could hold some cages. Exactly. Cunnel jumped in. Start small, 50 birds, 1 coop. Then scale up. Before you know it, you'll be supplying half the market. Tund's heart thumped. But what if I fail? What if something goes wrong? Beezy leaned forward, looking him dead in the eye. Then you'll learn. But doing nothing? That's worse. They all laughed softly, the tension fading as hope filled the room. That night, when everyone had left, Tund lay awake staring at the ceiling. The children beside him snored softly. His mind swirled with numbers, fears, and dreams. What if they're right? He whispered. What if this is my shot? But then the old fear crept in. What if I lose it all? What if I let them down? He sat up, shaking his head. No more running. His voice rose slightly, trembling with determination. The biggest risk is not taking any risk. He exhaled sharply, his decision clear. Tomorrow, he said aloud, I start the poultry. Even if it kills me trying. And as dawn began to break through the cracks of his roof, Tundo Koro's heart burned brighter than the sunrise, a man reborn with purpose. The next week, Tundo Coro stood nervously at the gate of Angela Lawson's company office, a tall glass building that shimmered under the Lagos sun. His palms were sweaty, his heart hammering. He held a carefully folded notebook filled with numbers, sketches, and dreams. The receptionist led him in. "Madam Angela will see you now." Inside the spacious office, Angela smiled warmly. "Tund, I was hoping you'd come back." "Yes, ma'am," he said, taking a deep breath. I've thought about your offer. I have an idea." "Go on," she encouraged. Tund opened his notebook and began explaining. "I want to start a poultry farm. Not a big one yet, maybe 50 chickens to begin with. Each sells around 8,000 naira in 3 months. If I reinvest, I can double the flock every quarter." Angela nodded thoughtfully. You've done your homework. I know poultry has challenges," Tund continued. "Diseases, feed costs, power issues, but I've already spoken to a farmer in Ibadan. He said he'd teach me proper vaccination and feed management. I can learn fast, ma'am. I just need the capital to start." Angela leaned back, eyes soft with admiration. "And how much do you think you'll need?" "I calculated the cost," Tund said, flipping the page. "Around 400,000 naira for birds, feed, and housing. I can handle labor myself." Angela smiled. You remind me of myself when I started." She stood, walking to the window. "I'll tell you what, start with 800,000 naira. If you succeed, I'll double it." Tund's mouth fell open. "Ma'am, what?" Thank you, ma'am. I swear, I won't fail you." Angela chuckled. "I know you won't. But you'll need help for your children while you work. I'll assign one of my assistants to arrange a helper for you." Tund bowed slightly, voice shaking. "God bless you, ma'am. You've done more than I could ever dream of." Weeks later, Tund arrived at a poultry farm in Ibadan for his mentorship. The smell of feed and feathers filled the air. His mentor, Mr. Adewale, a grizzled man in his 50s, eyed him curiously. "So, you're the one Mrs. Lawson sent?" "Yes, sir," Tund replied nervously. Mr. Adewale smirked. "All right then. You'll learn everything, from vaccination to egg collection. But I don't teach lazy men." Tund grinned. "Sir, I'll work harder than anyone." For 2 months, he rose before dawn, cleaned coops, mixed feed, carried heavy sacks, and noted every instruction. Adewale often shouted, "Faster, boy. Chickens don't wait for dreamers." Tund would pant, sweat dripping, but smile. "Why yes, sir." Soon, he mastered it all: feeding schedules, water management, disease prevention. When Adewale finally patted his back one afternoon, the man's eyes softened. "You're ready, son. Go make me proud." Back in his village, Angela's funds arrived through her company's accountant. Tund got straight to work, building coops from wood and wire, setting up feeders, and arranging clean water lines. His friends helped, hammering nails and laughing between breaks. By the 3rd month, the first chicks arrived, yellow, chirping, full of life. Tund named them after hopes: faith, grace, courage, and hope. Every morning before sunrise, he'd whisper to them, "All right, my babies, let's make this work." The business slowly grew. Within months, the coop buzzed with activity. Eggs filled trays, and the chickens grew healthy and fat. One day, Mr. Adewale visited unexpectedly. He inspected the coops carefully. "Feed's good. Water's clean." Not bad at all," he muttered. Tund swallowed nervously. "Sir, is it fine?" Adewale smiled slightly. "Better than fine. You've done good. Keep it up." Moments later, a shiny car pulled in, Angela again, wearing her gentle smile. "I just came to see your progress," she said, looking around proudly. "You've done beautifully, Tund. Keep this consistency, and next month, we'll expand." Tund's eyes filled with tears. "Ma'am, I don't even know how to thank you. You believed in me when nobody else did." Angela placed a hand on his shoulder. "You thanked me already, by proving I was right." From a distance, behind a tree, Chief Bako, the man who once tried to steal Tund's land, watched silently. His fists tightened as he saw the growing poultry yard, the cars, and the laughter. "So, she's helping him," he hissed bitterly. "That foolish boy." His eyes darkened for a moment, but then he sighed, shaking his head. "There's no fighting destiny." He turned and walked away, shoulders heavy with defeat, as Tund's laughter carried through the warm afternoon air, a sound of triumph, faith, and rebirth. 18 weeks later, the The once silent poultry yard was alive with sound, clucks, wings flapping, and the steady hum of work. The morning sun spilled over rows of coops as Tundokoro and his friends moved with practiced rhythm. Every morning, 200 chickens left the farm for delivery to hotels, market stalls, and restaurants across town. The smell of fresh feed mixed with the chatter of customers waiting at the gate. His reputation had spread like wildfire. People now said, Tun's birds are the cleanest, fattest, and healthiest around. Mr. Adewale, his mentor, had helped him connect with top buyers. You're ready for the big suppliers now, he said one morning, adjusting his cap. Here's a contact in Ibadan who buys in bulk. You'll need a truck. Tund grinned. A truck? Sir, I still deliver with a bike. Adewale chuckled. Then get ready to grow. Big men don't ride bikes forever. Soon, Angela Lawson visited again, impressed by his consistency. Tund, I see you're not wasting time, she said, scanning the records. Your profit margins are clean, feed, maintenance, and growth all balanced. You've got the discipline of a true entrepreneur. Thank you, ma'am, Tund said proudly. She smiled. I'll keep my word. I'm tripling your investment. Use it to build 2 more coops and hire workers. It's time to scale up. Tund almost dropped his pen. Tripling? Ma'am, are you serious? Angela laughed. You've earned it. Don't disappoint me. He clenched his fist, overwhelmed. I won't, ma'am. I swear, I'll make you proud. 6 months later, the expansion was complete. Trucks now rolled out of the gate daily, loaded with crates of eggs and live chickens. Tund employed 12 workers, including single mothers, youths, and men who once mocked him. Each evening, after paying salaries, he'd sit in the office counting bundles of naira notes. His children played in the corner, laughing and chasing each other. The sound melted his heart every single time. God, thank you, he whispered one night, eyes glistening. You've turned my shame into blessings. He saved part of the money, invested some back into feed production, and even bought a small truck for transport. Angela called a month later. Tund, I've been reviewing your reports. You're outgrowing that space. I want to help you buy your own land. What? Ma'am, land? That's a dream. She chuckled. Dreams come true for honest people. Get the documents ready. I'll handle the rest. 10 years later, Brightcore Farms had become one of the largest poultry and agribusiness companies in Oyo State. The once orphan boy everyone looked down on now oversaw over 20,000 chickens, 5 delivery trucks, and multiple cold rooms. Every morning, workers shouted orders as forklifts moved crates to waiting vehicles. Trucks bearing the Brightcore logo departed in waves. Tund stood at the gate in a crisp white shirt, watching the organized chaos. Every morning, 5 tons of poultry leave this yard, he said proudly to his foreman. Millions of naira flowed in every week from sales, contracts, and supplies to supermarkets. But Tund's focus was never on the money. It was on purpose. He diversified into feed production, then cold storage. A few years later, he bought a small property nearby and built rental apartments for extra income. People who once spat on him now greeted him with admiration. Good morning, sir. God bless you, Oga Tund. Chief Bako, now older and frail, once saw him at a town meeting and lowered his gaze. Tund, he murmured, you've made us all proud. Forgive an old man's foolishness. Tund simply smiled. Sir, I hold no grudge. We all learn in our own time. His children, now teenagers, attended one of the top schools in Ibadan. He paid their fees in full without hesitation. At dinner one evening, his daughter asked, Daddy, why do you still visit that old muddy road where you used to work? Tund smiled softly. Because, my child, that's where everything began. I never want to forget. He looked around the elegant dining room. The laughter of his children, the warm aroma of food, the framed photo of his late parents, and felt tears rise in his eyes. God, he whispered, voice trembling, you took an orphan boy the world spat on, and made him a leader. Outside, the lights of Brightcore Farms glowed against the night sky, a living symbol of resilience, humility, and divine turnaround. 15 years later, Brightcore Group was no longer just a poultry farm. It was an empire. Massive trucks bearing the company's logo rolled out daily, delivering food products, animal feed, and even bottled water across West Africa. The once abandoned boy had become a symbol of possibility. Hundreds of men and women now worked under Tundokoro's leadership. Brightcore employed drivers, engineers, accountants, and even university interns. The business had grown into multiple branches: poultry, feed mill, water factory, and logistics. The community that once mocked him now depended on him for their daily bread. The dusty village roads that once tore at his feet had been replaced by paved streets built through his own funds. Brightcore had sponsored the construction of a hospital, a primary school, and 3 boreholes providing clean water for the surrounding villages. On one of the hospital's walls hung a gold plaque that read, "The Okoro Foundation, in loving memory of Mama Grace Okoro." During the grand opening, hundreds gathered. The crowd buzzed with excitement, phones flashing, cameras rolling. Angela Lawson, now retired and walking with a cane, sat in the front row, smiling proudly. Tun stepped up to the microphone, his heart pounding. His voice trembled slightly before he found his rhythm. "This," he began, his voice echoing through the microphone. "This is for my mother, Mama Grace. A woman who taught me honesty even when hunger stared me in the face. No child should ever be abandoned or looked down on the way I was." The crowd roared with applause. Tears streamed down faces, some of guilt, others of pure admiration. He continued, "Today, Brightcore employs over 400 people, and we feed thousands every day. But it didn't start big. It started with 50 chickens and a dream." His loyal friends, Bode and Aisha, who had stood by him through the early struggles, now stood beside him proudly, both serving as directors in the company. "We started this together," he said, turning to them. "And together, we'll reach even more lives." After the ceremony, Angela's daughter approached him, smiling. "Mr. Okoro, Mom talks about you all the time. She says you were her greatest investment." Tund laughed softly. "Your mother gave me more than money, she gave me belief." He regularly visited Angela, now living quietly by the coast. He paid her bills, ensured her comfort, and treated her mother like his own. Once, during a quiet afternoon by the porch, Angela took his hand and said weakly, "I'm proud of the man you've become, Tund. You turned pain into purpose." Tund swallowed hard. "You gave me the wings, ma'am. I only learned how to fly." But life had its moments of irony. One afternoon, while supervising a construction site, Tund saw Chief Bako, the man who once mocked him, sitting under a mango tree, frail and quiet. "Tund," the old man rasped, his eyes watery. "I'm sorry. I was wrong. I didn't see who you could become." Tund placed a hand on his shoulder gently. "Sir, it's all right. We all have our time to learn." Later that evening, Tund sat on his mansion's balcony as his children returned from school, wearing the uniform of one of Nigeria's most elite academies. They ran into his arms, giggling. He hugged them tightly, eyes filled with emotion. "My children," he said softly, "everything we have today came because we didn't give up. Promise me, never look down on anyone because of where they are today. Tomorrow can change everything." As the golden sun dipped below the horizon, the lights of Brightcore farms illuminated the land, shining like beacons of hope. The once orphaned boy, rejected and ridiculed, had become the pride of his people. He whispered, half to himself, half to the world, "God, you took my ashes and turned them into beauty. You turned my tears into triumph." Dear viewers, Tund Okoro's story teaches us something powerful. Life can humble anyone, but it can also raise anyone. Never look down on someone because of their present situation. Honesty, perseverance, and faith will open doors that money can never buy. What do you think about Tund's journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on your notification bell, because more inspiring stories like this are coming your way. See you in the next story.